Pillow Talk with Kate. I'm so honored that you're here, and I'm grateful to have you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you enjoy this video, please give it a like, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss one of my premieres. And also tell your friends, like, this shit's about spreading the love and just being aware. Like, I talk about all topics pertaining to relationships, sex, intimacy, self-love, and self-care in a fun, light, storytelling way to take away the stigma. And, like, this stuff is normal, everyday life stuff. Like, why are we walking around thinking like we can't talk about it? Like, sex is life. Sex creates life. If we can't talk about that, and we can't talk about being physically intimate or emotionally intimate with someone without being, like, with it being a stigma, like, how are we going to talk about it? You know, we're going to break down. We're not going to be able to communicate. And that's what I'm doing with this. I'm taking my pillows and smashing all of those barriers, crossing a bunch of lines, because fuck the noise, and let's just talk about it. So, yeah, celibacy. What's the point? What is it? I'm sure a lot of you know that celibacy means that you're taking a vow where you're abstaining from sex. And abstinence refers to, because a lot of people will say that abstinence and celibacy are kind of the same thing. Abstinence strictly refers to no penetration. So when you're abstaining from sex, you're just not having penetration, and you could be making out, you could be doing oral if that's something that you're okay with. Like, everyone has their own way of abstaining. And with celibacy, when you take a vow of celibacy, it means that you most likely aren't doing any sexual acts. Like, maybe you'll kiss somebody, but you're not gonna, like, make out with them. You're not gonna do oral. Some people will allow themselves to make out very sparingly when they're on celibacy, when they're taking a vow of celibacy. Every person can define that for themselves. I personally took a time of celibacy. I don't like to say that I took a vow of celibacy. A lot of people, when they think of celibacy, they associate it with a religious organization or a religious reason. When people find out that someone has taken a vow of celibacy, they most often associate it with either they're super religious, or they're in some religious organization that is making it a requirement or a very strong suggestion, or that there is something wrong with that person emotionally or mentally as to why they want to refrain from having sex. And that's unfair to assume, because there are several reasons to take celibacy, whether it's self-imposed or done for religious reasons. Of course, if it's self-imposed versus done for a religious reason or purpose, they will be different answers. Anyone can take a vow of celibacy, whether it's for a religious reason or a non-religious reason. Most often it's going to be for a personal reason, and it's unfair for others to put assumptions on the people that are taking periods of celibacy. And you can be celibate and still masturbate, still pleasure yourself. Some will say that in religious settings you should not, or when you abstain from sex and say that you're taking a vow of celibacy, that you should take a vow of also just cutting out masturbation and self-pleasure. I believe it's your personal choice. It's not for everybody, and celibacy, when you think about it, is the act of refraining from sex and or marriage. So, to include masturbation in that, I find to be a little extreme, because we are human, we are mammals, we are like animals. They have urges, we have urges, and it has been proven that by having sex, you can reach a meditative state. And the same is true for masturbation. You just gotta commit to getting there, but you can get there. The word vow rubs me the wrong way. I think of vows as wedding vows. It's a very religious word to me, and so I don't like to pair it with sex, because if you take a vow of celibacy, most often that is associated with someone in the religious setting. I say that I took a sex sabbatical, which is what I say, but in the time in which I was practicing celibacy, it was for 13 months, and I didn't intend for it to be that long. I did it because I knew that I needed to cleanse. So, sex isn't just the physical act of having sex. It's an energetic connection, and it can be a spiritual experience as well. So, sex is a sacred act. And I don't mean that in the hippie, frou-frou, woo-woo, spiritual way, oh great, she's gonna talk about sex magic some more. I'm talking about in the pre-Christianic view. Sex was considered a sacred act because it was understood that our life force was the same as sexual energy. No one in this world has been created without someone having sex. They understood that sex is what brought life into the world, and therefore it was sacred because it had the potential to create life. Sex was also considered a sacred act because it was considered pretty much the ultimate way to bond with someone. You're very close in each other's physical space. You're seeing each other naked. You've both consented and given permission for that act to happen. And you're sharing that experiences. We're all energy, so the energy that your partner feels during the physical act of sex, you also feel, you can sense, because you learn to read their body language, and you can follow that. It's a very intimate way to get to know someone, and obviously to become very close with them. And in modern times, sex is something that's often taken for granted because it is considered a way of life now. So it's just oh, I just need it because I have these urges, so I'm gonna go out and get it, and we have all these apps for that. And it distracts from just how powerful the act of sex is. Because we have made sex so readily available, we have actually cut down our personal value and our intimate connection with sex. Because the more we have it, the more we start to take it for granted. And when we don't have it for even just a little bit, we go stir crazy and we're like, what the fuck? I need to have some sex right now. By practicing celibacy, you'll get greater pleasure out of sex when you do have it. So, in summation, sex was considered a sacred act before the pre-Christianic view because it was known that sexual energy was the same as life force energy because we are all created from the act of sex. And it was considered the ultimate way to bond with somebody. And in today's culture, we've lost sight with how powerful sex can be because we've made it so readily available, and we don't actually fully connect with our partner because we're just in it for the physical act versus as a way to meditate and heighten and elevate the senses. I got to the point where I was viewing sex as an object of just like a goal to cross off, where I just wanted to sleep with people to satisfy my sexual urges. And it got frustrating, one, because it was like I was planning it, and I would notice that if I started to get like bitchier or just more aggravated easier, I'd be like, well, when was the last time I had sex? I'd be like, oh, 3 weeks ago. Okay, yeah, that's probably why I'm sexually frustrated and need to take care of it. And that's how I looked at it. And sex is a sacred thing. When you hug someone, you connect to them. And sex is like the ultimate physical way of connecting with someone. But it's not just physical. It's emotional. It's energetic. It's spiritual. People say that the people that you've slept with, whoever they have slept with, you have slept with. And when you don't have just one sexual partner and you have multiple sexual partners, that's where it gets a little tricky. And because you're not just taking on one other person's energy, you're taking on everyone else that you're sleeping with, and by proxy all the other people that they're sleeping with if they're sleeping with other people. And if you're sleeping with multiple people, they're most likely sleeping with multiple people. It got to the point where I was just putting so much energy behind trying to get laid. And I had my rotation of people. We've all done it. Maybe I'll make another episode on just like having a sexual rotation of people and what that means or what it looks like. But I was cycling through them, regularly. I wasn't going too crazy. I was at least having sex at least once a month, if not more. But like at that time, like I knew that I would get sex at least once in the month. And for like the first 6 months of that, it was like really constant and just flowed really well. And then I started to get more emotionally invested in some of my FBs, and that's when I was like, no, I don't want to get emotionally invested in their life because I'm trying to like do all of this stuff career-wise. I'm an empath and a highly sensitive person, and if you're an empath and or a highly sensitive person, and by having sex with somebody, it's going to affect you way more than a non-empath, than a non-highly sensitive person. And it's because you're so in tune with energy and with emotions. If you walk into the room as an empath and someone is upset, the moment you step into that room with the upset person, you are going to feel it. You're gonna feel slightly upset. You might start feeling your blood pulsing more throughout your body. So that amplifies when you have sex with somebody. And again, you don't know if your partner, if you're not exclusive, you don't know who your partner is sleeping with or who that person has slept with. So then it's like you're taking on all of this extra unknown energy. And that's kind of, to me, that's alarming to me. And I know that whenever I dabble in polyamory, whenever I do that, I just have to be so careful energetically and emotionally because I'm sensitive to that. And it's like even if my partner tells me that when they sleep with other people, I don't know the other people, I don't know who the other people slept with, and I'm like getting in their energy, and also like being an energy worker and a coach, like it messes with my energy, and so I really stopped doing all of that because of that reason, and I'm way more intuitive and focus driven, and my work is so much stronger when I'm very, very cautious about my sexual encounters. So that was why I took a vow of celibacy. I hadn't become a coach yet. I was working on that transition. And I was also getting more into energy work. I started to do more sound baths, work on more sound healing, and I was doing some more yoga trainings. It just felt right. Like, it got to the point where like I could feel the other people's energy, and like it was weird. So it naturally died down. And the first month I was like, fuck, why did I do this? Because like a vow of celibacy is not easy, especially when you're used to and accustomed to having regular sex. It's hard to cut that out. It's hard. It's not to say that sex is an addiction, and it can be, but it's like cutting anything out of your life. Like when you're struggling to cut out smoking and to cut out the nicotine cravings, like you have cravings for sex, you have those sexual urges, and you have those sexual impulses and desires that you want to follow through on. So when you take the vow of celibacy, you really start to ask yourself, why are you having these sexual urges? And then what can you do to diminish them or to take care of the urge on your own? So the thing with celibacy, rule of threes totally apply. And that means every third month it gets easier. But the months in between that, it's like, could be brutal. So the first month I was like, fuck me, why did I decide that I was gonna do this? This is really dumb. Second month I was like, whoa, it's been 2 months. It's been 2 months and I'm already going crazy. Third month I was like, no big deal. I got this, I can do this. And then the fourth month I was like, wow, okay. We are where we are, okay, I'm in it. 4 weeks clean, or 4 months clean. Cool. And then the fifth month, I was going crazy. That's when I started to do a little bit more self-pleasure. And by month 6, I was like, I got this. I can do this. I was like, I got my self-pleasure practice is on point. I got, my toys that I can use. It's cool. I figured it out, right? And then month 7 hit, and I was just like, why? Why am I still here? And I'm like, okay, well, I made it 6 months. I can do another 6. And I was like, stay strong. And by month 8, I was like, really? I was like, I have 4 more months of this? You're kidding me, right? Why did I say I was gonna go a whole year? Why did I do that to myself? What the fuck? Month 9, I was like, it's not so bad. I was like, I'm still close. I just got 3 more months. Just 3 more months. I could totally do 3 more months. I've already gone 9. So, like, I don't need... Like, I could do it. I don't need the physical act of sex. Like, I got myself. I take care of myself. And month 10, I was just like, so close. So far. Just gonna keep going. Then by month 11, I was kind of just indifferent to it. And I was like, woohoo! 1 more month! 1 more month! And then month 12 got there. And I was like, cool! I did it a year! Go me! But then I was like, oh, I was practicing celibacy, so I wasn't talking to anyone that I was interested in having sex with. So even though I had been a year, I didn't have anyone that I wanted to have sex with. And so then I went another month, and I was like, at that point in month 12, when I realized that I didn't have anyone that I wanted to sleep with in my life at that point, I was like, well, that was also, good thing I did this vow of celibacy, because I learned that I don't need sex as much as I thought I did. I learned that I am 100% and totally capable of going through life without needing the physical intimacy, which is something that I hadn't done in a really long time. And it was a great experience for me to learn. So at that point I was like, okay, well, when sex presents itself with someone I trust and I feel good about it energetically and emotionally, like, I will allow myself to have sex if that opportunity arises. So luckily for me, by month 13, that opportunity arose with someone from my past, like way past, like 5 lifetimes ago past, probably. I mean, in this life, but yeah. During the 13 months of celibacy, I really refocused a lot on myself and why I had all of those urges come up. And I found that I was using sex as a way of getting external validation. Not to brag, but like, I have references, so like, I just like know I'm good. Okay, getting off the ego. I was on the ego horse just then, but I'm off. I was doing it as a way of getting external validation because I didn't have a exclusive partner at that moment in my life. I noticed that when I took my vow, I don't like saying that, when I was practicing celibacy, I realized that I was using sex as a form of validation. And I had some issues around the wounded masculine in myself that I needed. I smell rosemary all of a sudden, but there's no rosemary in here. Ooh, I should put rosemary in there. So weird. Okay. Yeah, I don't. So weird, so weird. Okay. I'm back. I'm done with the rosemary. But I had a lot of wounded masculine energy in my life, and growing up, my father was very emotionally absent. And so was my brother. And so sex became a way for me to get attention from men. And that's not healthy. That's not something that I wanted. It was something that I saw in myself and knew that I was doing it. When I was doing it, I started to like wake up to it, and that was honestly a very big reason in why I decided to practice celibacy for a while, because I didn't want to take those issues and put them on someone else. Like, I needed to process that. I needed to let go of it and really ask myself why it was there and why I was still holding on to it. Because it's trauma bonding, and the people that I was sleeping with during that time, I was bonded to them because everyone had some sort of trauma. Mostly like family trauma and romantic relationship trauma. And so when we weren't sleeping together, we were talking about our traumas. And you are who you hang out with. And when you're hanging out with the people that you're having sex from, and all of them have some sort of trauma, like, you're gonna be living in that trauma, whether it's your own or it's theirs. Not a lot of people can recognize that because they're not aware. But the bonds that you make with somebody over shared trauma, in that moment, you bond more because you feel a sense of trust. There's a deeper connection. You feel like, oh, this person gets it. They understand my pain. I can be more open with them about it. And that's good. It's healthy to talk about it. But when you're trying to recover from trauma and you just keep rehashing different trauma, whether it's your own or your partner's, because they're also experiencing trauma bonding, that's what the relationship is built around. And then it's like sex trauma bonding, which is very weird. And the more I started to get into the energy work, I really haven't done this since I got heavy into my spiritual and energy work and intuitive body work that I do. But as I was getting more into that, as I was going into my Reiki trainings, I realized that if I had been intimate with somebody and then performed Reiki, like the next day on someone else or even myself, energetically I was off. I didn't feel right. I wasn't fully tapped into my intuition. I wasn't a clear channel. And I started to feel the other person's energy in me. Like, it was to the point where we would be physically intimate, having sex, and I could look in their eyes and be like, oh, they have good energy today. Or like, oh, they're a little dark right now. I'm like, oh no, I feel dark. So by doing that, taking that time and that space to be with myself, because when I was taking my sex sabbatical, I think I only made out with one person during that time, and like it was just making out. That was as far as I wanted it to go, and even that, I was like, okay, well, I was just like over it at that point. I was like, we're done here. Good day. But I recommend, if you're starting to look at like sex or pursuing people as becoming a chore, I was talking to a client recently, and he had confided that he was like, maybe I should take a vow, like maybe I should be celibate for a little bit and just like abstain from sex. I was like, well, I will support that if that's what you think that you need to do. Why do you feel that? And he said, I'm putting way too much energy into it. It's not fun anymore. It's becoming a chore. It feels like something I have to do. And people always ask, like, oh, who are you pursuing now? Who are you talking to now? And he's like, oh, I've got this chick and like maybe this other girl, but like I also really like this girl. And he's like, what if I just like stop doing that and put my energy in me? And I was like, I think that's a good way to go. But when it's right, I'm not going to force anyone to do a vow or of celibacy or abstain from sex if they don't feel that is right for them. But I do think there is value in taking a break. It's not for everyone. I got criticized a whole fuck ton. Even by by a lot of my friends. Every single friend that I had. When I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna be celibate. And they're like, for how long? I was like, when I first started, I didn't set a goal. I was like, I just want to do it for a few months, see how I feel, and then I'll decide if I want to go long or not. It's like month 3, and I was like, if I can go half a year, I'll be happy. And I made it half a year, and I was like, I think that I should really do a full year. But, so over the course of the year, when my friends would be like, so who are you sleeping with? Or like, when was the last time you had sex? I'd be like, 5 months ago, 9 months ago, 11 months ago, a year ago. And their reaction was like, what? How can you? And in my head I was like, that reaction, the fact that you think that you need to have that physical intimacy on the regular is why. It's like someone who's addicted to smoking cigarettes. You think that there's a dependency on the nicotine. There's a dependency on sex. Like, it will make you feel better, you get the release, it is relaxing. And so what are the benefits of practicing celibacy? Well, one, it'll make you appreciate sex a whole hell of a lot more when you do have sex, because by making sex so available, we've actually undervalued it, we've underappreciated it. And so when you remove that from your life for a while, you begin to remember that it's not just about the physical connection. It's not about the physical act. It's not about the boom, boom, hit it and quit it. It's about heightening and elevating your senses, your feelings. You're learning somebody on a very intimate level. The act of sex creates life. Like, what else do you do in a day that creates life? It's nothing. It opens up more doors, creates more opportunities, because the time in which you were having sex or you were stuck fantasizing about sex, like the time spent on all those apps and the time spent hunting for sex, as I like to refer to it, can be put toward other things. You have more time for yourself. You can put more time on your hobby. Maybe you want to write more or dance more or do more yoga. So when you remove something out of your life, you're creating space to fill it with something else, or for something else to come in and fill it. When is that bad, to get new opportunities or to pursue something that you've always wanted to but didn't have the time to, because now you have the time. Number 3, turn the focus back on you, because you still have these sexual urges, you have these impulses. Like mentioned earlier, it's okay to take care of them. No one knows you better than yourself, and if you don't know yourself, now's a great time to get to know yourself and learn what you like, what toys or wands can you get, what can you try. And this goes for both female and male. Like, whatever, do what you need to do. We're all human. It's natural. Ain't no shame in nature. 4, celibacy can help reduce anxiety, because the time that you would spend, one, stressing about sex, like who's gonna sleep with you when, blah blah blah, all those details, and then we all get those times where we're like, oh, this person's gonna see me naked, I want it to be as dark in the room as possible, I hope this guy looks cute when he's naked, and like it's just a very vulnerable time. I used to get very self-conscious with getting naked in front of people because I did not have a positive body image of myself. And so when you take that away, you have less things to worry about. So those things that were always on your mind, gone. Doesn't that sound nice, not to have to worry about all those things? I think it does. Of course, you can always work on just loving yourself, and then you won't have those worries. That also sounds nice. And that way, you can still have the sex. But back to the reasons why being celibate is beneficial. So the 5th reason and the final reason I'm going to give you is that it can actually strengthen your romantic life and enhancing your love life. Because you are not being physically intimate, you are gaining a newfound respect for other means and ways to show your affection, love, and appreciation to others. And if you do decide to take a time of celibacy in a relationship, because you can do that, like it's a conversation with your partner for sure. But you can do that, and when you take a vow of celibacy as a couple, it can strengthen the romance level in the relationship, because you're still with this person. Maybe you live together or you see each other often, and you still want to show your love and that you appreciate them, and a lot of people do that through sex. So when you remove that and that's no longer an option, it's now time to get creative and start paying attention to your partner in new ways, and you'll start to understand what it is that you miss in that intimacy and what it is about it that you appreciate and why, creating a better understanding for yourself, and then you'll be able to communicate that with your partner. Then the cons, because if there are pros, there are cons. People are gonna be like, WTF? Why? That's dumb. You shouldn't do it. I don't know why I changed my voice there, but I did. And let those people say those things. You can't stop them from saying those things, but you can know that they're not there yet, because celibacy is a choice. No one can tell you to be celibate. You have to decide that it's something you want to try on your own, for yourself. No one can tell you or mandate you to do it. When I did it, it was just, I've taken a few vows of celibacy throughout my life, and when I've done it, it's been because I wanted to. It's because it felt like something I wanted, like my body mentally, emotionally, and energetically just needed it. And I try to honor my body and listen to my body as much as I can. So people will be naysayers, and some people might even tell you not to or to get you to stop. And if you really feel strongly about it, then stick to it. Because this is for you, it's not for your friends or anybody else, this is for you. And then sometimes you doubt, like, can I even make it? Can I do this? You have those doubtful thoughts. It's okay, push past them. If you really want it, you can do it. Or, like, if I find someone and they seem really interested and they want to have sex with me, am I going to be able to pass that up? But you don't know if that thought or that fear will creep in your head, and if it does, just remember that if this is something you really want, you will be faithful to yourself. It's all about the commitment to yourself and being faithful to that. And if you can't be faithful to yourself and commit to yourself, then how do you think that you're going to commit yourself to a partner? It's time for some breath work. We didn't do breath work in the beginning, but we're gonna do it now. And we built up a lot of energy talking about sex can be very heated. So we're just going to do a breath of fire for a few minutes. Sitting, you can cross at the ankles, you can sit butterfly. If you want, you can sit in hero's pose where you're on your shins, your knees are together, and your toes are either pressing on the floor or your feet are flat on the floor. So whatever feels good for your ankles. And hands can rest on your knees, palms face up to receive energy for a more uplifting effect, or palms face down for more grounding. I'm going to do palms face up, and I'm going to do the mudra for knowledge, Gyan mudra. So to do breath of fire, we're going to take a few cleansing deep breaths in and out, and we'll take 3 of them, and on the last one really just push everything out, and then inhale, taking as much air as you can, and then we're going to do short, powerful snips of air through the nose, pumping the belly. So it'll look and sound like this. Alright, let's get started, get comfortable. Inhale as you roll the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, pull the shoulders down the back. And take 3 cleansing breaths. Emptying out fully each exhale. Last one. And exhale, empty out. Alright, now inhale. I am alive. And breath of fire, go.
Find a place in your heart, feel it up and light that spark.
You can do this with the eyes closed or open.
Feel the moment, seize the day.
Keep going. Imagine there's fire in your belly, and in order to keep the fire lit, you have to keep pumping your belly.
And say, I am beautiful.
Hold that image of fire at your third eye.
I am beautiful. I am You've got the answers inside yourself. Feel the rhythm of a life itself. Surrender to the moon. Freedom heart from your soul. Here is one letting go. We are all we need.
Keep it going, smile.
And say, I am beautiful.
Points down to the earth.
I am alive. When you look at yourself in the mirror, celebrate.
Just a little bit longer. Keep going.
I am a miracle. I am alive.
Seconds.
I am alive.
Empty out fully. Shake the arms, shake the head, wiggle it out. Find stillness. Inhale, reach the arms up as you inhale. Thumbs touch. You can cross left over right. Inhale a little bit more. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Look up at your thumbs. Exhale, open the hands, release. Head slowly returns to neutral. You can let the arms rest by your side or on your knees. Noticing the energy. Notice how the body feels right now. What colors are you seeing? What images come to mind? What thoughts? What sensations are pulsing throughout the body? Bring the hands to touch at heart center. We're going to take one cleansing breath of Om together. Deep breath in. Fill up, expanding the rib cage, filling the belly. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Sat Nam. Whew. That was a good one. Alright, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure as always. Please let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. I love to know what you guys think. Once again, I'm Kate Eipel. I'm a self-love mindset relationship coach. And if you have any questions at all about the topics that we discuss or would like more information on them, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact info is in the description below. And I will see you next week. Oh, wait. Before I leave, I forgot. Karen wanted me to ask this, and I totally spaced. So, we're thinking about making this a live series and streaming them live once a week, every week. What do you think about that? Or would you rather have them like this? I will still make an appearance as Feather, Karen, and Kate are all going to be there. Yeah, let me know what you think about that. Alright, thank you so much for watching this episode. Love and appreciate you all. Take care.